Hello, listeners. Been wondering how you can help the show? Probably not. But here are 5 things you can do. 1. Subscribe. Support the show by clicking the subscription link in the show notes. 2. Review on iTunes, on our website, www.afraidofnothingpodcast.com, or on whatever app you listen to. 3. Donate. When you go to our website, click the cute coffee cup icon, or in the show notes, click the subscription link. 4. Share. Sharing really is caring. Tell your friends and even your enemies to check out the show. 5. Watch. Wait a minute, it's a podcast, not a movie. Actually, it's both. Check the show notes to find out where to watch the documentary. You can also rent it on Prime Video. That's it. Oh, one last thing. Enjoy this episode.
In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heskey.
Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
Born into an Irish Catholic family, Colleen Costello came to the United States when she was 23. After an accident, Colleen met her guardian angel during a near-death experience. From that time on, she began receiving messages from angels all the time, and eventually learned how to channel these messages to help others. Today, Colleen, also known as the Celtic Medium, is an internationally renowned Irish psychic medium, tarot expert, para-investigator, radio host, and TV personality, featured on shows such as Paranormal Lockdown and Destination America, among others. Her website is www.theangelicspirit.com, and you can also find her on Facebook. Hey, Colleen, thank you for being on the show, and welcome.
Thank you, Bob. It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think we have some common friends in the paranormal world. My last interview was Marion Luwama from the S.K. Pierce House, and I've actually seen your name around and about, so you're someone I've been wanting to talk to for a while. So it's great. It's great to finally meet you over the computer, if nothing else.
Thank you so much. Yes, I know Marion well. I've known her for quite a few years. Yeah, she's wonderful, and I've also investigated the S.K. Pierce Mansion, so that's a great place to go.
Absolutely. You know, one of the places in there where you, by the way, had some experience. There were 2 places which I saw from a video that you were on, and one was the billiard room, correct? You went into the closet, and there was some really bad mojo going on in there that you picked up on, correct?
Oh, in the S.K. Pierce Mansion?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes, the billiard room. That is correct. Yeah, that was when we investigated there. I think I investigated there probably around, 3 years ago. Yes, that definitely did not have good energy when I investigated there at that time. That's the one with the closet. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Where blood
there was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of negative energy coming from the closet, and definitely it had very cold energy and negative energy in that room. And I did feel that at the time that when I was in the billiard room at the mansion, that there was, I think, when I was there, that there may be some form of abuse that maybe went on in there, and that maybe, there was some people that were locked in the closet at the time and kept in there. And I did spend some time in the closet by myself. I did actually go in there by myself. But I got a lot of energy in there, cold spots and things like that. But it was a very interesting place to investigate.
Yeah, when we did I did a documentary, Afraid of Nothing. We had a shaman go in there, And what was weird with us was when we went in, there were two mics. One was on Ken Watson, I think you may know.
Oh, yeah, I know Ken, yeah.
Yep, and the other was on Brad, Little Frog Hudson, who was a shaman. And in certain rooms, like that room, and then there was another room, a servant's room, where this woman was supposed to be huddled in the corner, like in distress. His mic got staticky. It wasn't everywhere, but it was a couple places. Like there was almost some energy disruption. Did you guys have any audio issues when you were there filming?
We had issues in the basement. We definitely had issues in the basement. At the time, we had issues when we were investigating in the basement with where there was a spirit in the basement that tried to separate me from the men that were investigating with me. I was investigating with Rich John Boise, the Candyman, and
Jerry Seavey,
Jerry Seavey and Christian Whitten at the time. And when we went down to the basement, when you go down to the basement, down the end of the stairs, and there's a room to the right, there was a spirit down there that wanted to separate me from the men. And that's when we ran into some like audio issues and some things like that, and some where the flashlight would turn on and off. It was weird. Yeah, so there was definitely some issues
that was,
down there.
I saw that on YouTube, and there was you were asking questions, and literally the flashlight was turning on and off almost at your request for a period of a couple minutes.
Well, what happened was, it's not actually on the video. What happened was the flashlight would turn on, but it would glare right in my eyes, and then it wouldn't turn off unless I moved on demand from one side of the room to the other. So what happened was, unless I literally moved, so we'd ask for this, I would ask for Spirit to turn the flashlight off. And he wouldn't turn the flashlight off until I literally moved from one spot and crossed over to the other side of the room. And when I crossed over to the other side of the room, I'd say, now will you turn it off? And when I moved to the other side of the room, he would turn it off. So it was like he was making me do these movements, like he wanted to have control over what I did. It was very scary. It was actually a very kind of eerie kind of feeling, because it was like that. He was like, well, I'm not going to do what you asked me unless you do this first. And that's kind of wasn't on the video, but that's what actually, I think it caught the tail end of it. But that's actually what was happening during the investigation, was that I literally had to move from one side of the room to the other. And then I would go back, and he would shine the light on me again, and then I would say, can you please turn it off? Can you please turn it off? He wouldn't turn it off until I literally went across the other side of the room. Then I'd say, now can you turn it off? And then he would turn it off. So it was very weird.
Now, do you find, we're going to go into kind of some background. I'm sorry, I kind of jumped into some common ground this first, but when you go to, maybe we're connected in a past life, who knows? When you go to these older houses with older spirits and deal with men, back 100 years or whatever, they probably were more disrespectful to women than hopefully they are now, right? Do you run into that sometimes, where some of the older entities want to be dominant and are kind of dismissive of you as being a female?
Yes, definitely. I will definitely say that yes, there are. I definitely, when you go to some of the older homes where men would have been more superior, or, would have treated women less than, you know what I mean? Completely different to nowadays, where they will they'll frown upon, or like the spirits will feel like they have to control you, or they actually do not like certain rooms of certain homes. And I also felt that in the billiard room of the S.K. Pierce mansion, where it was solely where, and I'm sure Marion probably told you, it was where the men of the home hung out. That was kind of where the men went. And that's exactly what I felt when I walked in there, that I was not welcome. And I felt that in other places where I've investigated also, where I've walked in and I felt like, as a woman, I felt like I was not welcome there, and that I should leave. And that I've actually been sworn at on investigations where I've walked into certain rooms where I've been told to bleep off, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. As so many, we know what that, and been told like, you don't belong here and get out, and women don't belong here, certain to that extent, in very old homes where you're not welcome here.
That happened, the Mass Paracon that was in Western Mass. J.P. Morgan's sister was at Ventfort Manor. I'm trying to remember the name of the place. Have you ever been there, Western Mass?
I haven't been there. I would like to go, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm butchering. I know of it. Yeah, it's called Ventfort Manor or something. And yes, Ventfort, there were, on the second floor, there was one room, there was a ghost photographer, and she was like, you got to go down here, and there's a man, I'm very uncomfortable, there's a man in there, and I didn't pick up anything. And I had my spirit box out and, trying to do the best I could. I sensed nothing. But she was very uncomfortable, and it got stronger, and she actually had to flee and leave the building because she's like, I didn't sign up for this. And other people, the psychic that kind of walked the house before we got there, had also said up there that in that room there was a man that's very dismissive of women. So that's kind of why I thought, wow, maybe when you go to these older houses, you got these old kind of,
Oh, absolutely. Are places where there was a lot of men or a lot of male, prevalent and things like that. Yeah, where they and they can get physical too, where they might push you or shove you or intimidate you. And being a psychic medium, I'm very prone to the energies, and I can feel them and I can hear them. And it's, because I'm not just an paranormal investigator, but I'm also tuned into their energy, and I can also psychically hear them speaking and all of that, and hear them swearing at me and things like that. So I'm also very tuned into that. And I won't stay. If I feel like I'm being threatened, I will leave. You know what I mean? I'm not scared at all. Like, as a paranormal investigator, I'm not scared. I don't get scared. But if I feel threatened, if I feel they're going to cause physical harm to me, yeah, I'm going to get out. I'm not hanging around to find out, they're going to push and shove me or, anything like that. So, but they can get aggressive.
That's like
they
if
can
you're
get
in
aggressive.
a place with the living, you may not be afraid of them, but they're just bad people, and it's time to move on.
Well, their personalities are the same, as I explain to many people, and as I always try and explain to people when I'm doing readings through paranormal investigating, or even just readings from clients. People in the spirit world, their personalities are the same as they were in the physical world. So if they were aggressive in the physical world, they're aggressive in the spirit world. If they were nice and they were pleasant, if they were outgoing, extroverts, introverts, however you are in the physical world, you are the same in the spirit world. So it's very, you're the same person. You know what I mean? You are exactly the same. And how they come across and how they act and how they behave and how they sound is exactly how they are in the physical world, or in the spirit world as they were in the physical world.
Do introverts have less guardian angels because they don't like the company, or what? Or does that matter?
Oh gosh, no, of course not. It has nothing to do with the amount of angels. Definitely not.
I got to tell you something, though. I'm a little disappointed that I'm hoping I become a better person once I move on to the next life. I think I'm a good guy, but, there are things I'd like to fix in my personality, and I part of me was hoping that I'd evolve more. So do people, if you're a bad athlete and, you're whatever, does that follow you throughout every reincarnation?
No,
or if you're
no, definitely not. No, I hope not.
Thank you, for my sake.
I'm a bad athlete, so a terrible one. No,
cool.
Your person. No, definitely not. No, it's actually what a wonderful thing is that how when somebody crosses over from this physical world into the spiritual world. And one thing that I do love about doing readings is that people who have ailments or people who have severe disabilities who cross over from the physical world into the spiritual world, they're gone. And that's something that is absolutely wonderful. People who are in wheelchairs, people who have ailments, people who have diseases, and they have things that they cannot do in the physical world. That is all gone when they cross over into the spiritual world, and it's absolutely wonderful. So there's wonderful benefits.
So, I had a mother who passed a couple of years ago with Alzheimer's, so she had dementia, and she didn't, last couple of years of her life, she didn't really recognize me, which was really kind of traumatic because your whole life, you're the center of, you're a mom, right? You're the center of someone's life, and then they look at you like you're the average Joe out in the street, and so when she passed over, the fog cleared, so to speak, for her, and the dementia was gone, and
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. She is perfectly clear-minded and everything comes back to her. Yes, absolutely. It's wonderful. And that's what's so wonderful when you connect with the other side. And that's what I love about my job more than anything is bringing people together with their loved ones on the other side, is bringing that connection together. Those things that were so sad and so heartbreaking when you went through that with your loved ones, when they were towards the end of their life, they went through diseases or they had all these physical ailments or disabilities. And now they don't have it anymore, and they can come back and they can tell you that they're okay and that they were there and that you came to visit them and they remembered you came to visit them and that they want to thank you for being there for them and all these wonderful things because now that they're okay. And that's what's so wonderful about being able to bring people here in the physical world together with their loved ones who've crossed over to complete that circle. It's absolutely wonderful. And, it brings a lot of comfort and closure for people.
It's exactly what I was just thinking, the word comfort. I'd like to get back and focus on, I kind of went on a tangent a little bit, but this is great stuff. I want to go back to kind of talk about your beginnings as a medium. But first, can you clarify what's the difference between a psychic and a medium?
Okay, they're very different. And I think people don't really know the difference. People tend to think they're the same. But a psychic is somebody who helps you, guide you with your future and gives you spiritual guidance in the sense that, for example, uses their intuition, their ability. They have the ability to tune into you and help you with your future, help you with what you're going through in life, guide you into your future. They can tune into things that you can't tune into. They're extremely intuitive. I've always been extremely intuitive. I started reading tarot cards when I was 17. I self-taught. I used to have intuitive dreams. I used to have dreams when I was a very young child that used to come true. I'm an empath, and an empath is someone who is in tune with other people's feelings. In other words, you can feel other people's feelings. In other words, if someone's extremely sad, you can feel their sadness. You're very empathic. You can feel their anger. You can feel their pain. You're in tune with them. You're not somebody that says, oh my God, that person's sad, and just goes on with your day. You can feel how they're feeling, and you can empathize with them and say, I understand how they're feeling, and you know how to deal with that. All of these different things, how you can help people in life. You can use different methods of helping people, guide them in their future. Like I said, tarot cards are one ways, oracle cards. I gifted in the sense that I can communicate with the angelic realm, and that's a whole different story. We'll get onto that in a second. I know you're going to get onto that.
That must be the psychic part of you that knew we were going to get onto that.
Yeah. And those kind of things. A medium is something completely different. A medium is somebody who can connect with the other side. A medium is somebody who can connect with your loved ones crossed over. They can connect with spirit. In other words, a medium is someone that can connect with loved ones, animals, pets, loved ones, human beings who have crossed over, who have passed, who have died. And they can communicate with them. They can communicate with their energy. They can deliver messages. How it's done is we're just really a vessel. What happens is I became a medium was as a young child, as a teenager, I used to hear voices all the time, lots and lots of voices in my head. And in the beginning, you think you're crazy, and you're not going to tell anybody that either, trust me. So you hear lots and lots of voices. And
we should say this, just intervene. One of my questions was, you grew up in an Irish Catholic family. That's especially a situation where you probably would keep it to yourself.
Exactly. And growing up in an Irish Catholic family, that's not something you're going to go bring up at the dinner table. I'm hearing voices in my head, mom and dad, and I think people are talking to me. Yeah, definitely not. I used to block them out, tell them to go away, and I would go about my day. The psychic part, like I said, was something completely different. I would go to, ruins and locations where I would see and feel things all the time. The mediumship part, I would hear voices in my head. So the psychic part of me, I delved into reading about things like that, like tarot. I ended up teaching myself how to learn tarot because that's something I was drawn to. The mediumship part came later on in life because they're so different. And I eventually had to learn how to decipher the difference between my own voice in my head and the voice of somebody else that was trying to communicate with me. And that's something that's very hard for a medium is, how do you know that it's not yourself talking to yourself and you know that somebody else is trying to give you a message for somebody? Because you actually think, because it actually sometimes sounds like yourself when you're thinking thoughts. Like when you hear something, it's like you hear something and it's only when you hear it 2 or 3 times that you think, well, I'm not going to say that to myself 2 or 3 times. So somebody's telling me something, or you hear somebody saying, tell somebody such and such a thing, or that's my brother, that's my sister, that's something. And you think, I just didn't hear that. So you doubt yourself. You think you're crazy. Honest to God's truth. When you first become a medium, you think you're going crazy. And I know there's many mediums out there that will agree with me who have gone through the same path of in the beginning. You doubt yourself. You question yourself. You look to other sources to say, is this really happening to me? Is this real? Is it not real? And then you read about it and you look to other people who've done it or who've gone through the same thing. I used to call myself the reluctant medium. Because I did psychic readings first, and I was very reluctant to do medium readings because I doubted myself so much. But what happens is in becoming a good medium is you have to remove the self-doubt and you have to trust spirit. And it takes a long time to finally remove your self-doubt and actually begin to trust spirit, trust that the person giving you the message, and just say exactly what they're saying. You cannot decipher. The difference between doing a psychic reading and a mediumship reading is a psychic reading, you're using yourself, you're helping along. You have to decipher the reading. So you're using your own intuition along with whatever, using tarot, whatever, to decipher the reading. A mediumship reading, you are not using anything of yourself. You're not deciphering anything. So you're not getting involved. You're literally just, Spirit is telling you, say this, and you're literally just saying it. So you cannot decipher it. You cannot make up what you think it is. So if they tell you, tell this person there was a Christmas tree someplace, or there was a red ball somewhere, you can't say, oh, I think maybe the red ball means this. You can't decipher or make it up. You have to rate exactly as it is, because it's up to the person that you're giving the message to know what it means or to decipher what it means. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So in other words, if I give you a message, like if your mom came through to you and said to you a certain thing, right? For example, I don't know. Okay, so this is really weird as I'm talking to you right now. I don't know. Are you thinking of writing a book or something?
It's always in the back of my. It's the only thing I haven't done. Like I've done graphic novels. I've done doing podcasts now. I've done films, documentaries, dramas. So
because she keeps showing me, like for example, your mother right now keeps showing me a book, and she keeps saying to me, "This is something very easy that you keep putting off." But it's a paperback, and it's like something very easy that you keep saying you're going to do and you haven't done. So she keeps showing me this, right? And she's got the easy button on. The easy button?
Yeah, sure.
Easy button.
Staples, yep.
Easy. And she's like, Bob. And she's calling you Bobby. So, Bobby, you haven't done this yet. You know what I mean? And you need to do it. And she's like, you're procrastinating. So she's like, you're procrastinating. You need to get this done. Okay? And she's like, something like that. But there's something that you've done other stuff, but not this particular thing. And it's weird because it's like something super, she's saying it's easy.
I think writing a book would be hard.
I think writing a book is super hard too. It's something I've always wanted to do, but there's something that she's talking about that should be super easy for you. And I almost feel like it's something to do about your own life and about yourself and about your own town and where you grew up or how you grew up. Almost like an autobiography. I don't know. It's weird. So... But anyways, those are the kind of things, like, I can't interpret that. You have to interpret that. You have to figure out what that means. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. You had mentioned earlier, like, you thought you were going crazy and you didn't really have a mentor. I know, doing research, you had a near-death experience. So my question to you was, I was going to ask who your mentor was. Was your mentor a human being, or was it based on the head trauma from an accident where you had a divination? I mean, what was your mentor to help you realize you weren't crazy and you should go on this path?
I didn't really have one, to be honest. I don't really follow people, I'll be honest. I'm not really someone that's a follower of people. So I never really was like, I love this psychic, I love this medium, I want to be like this person or like that person. I'm kind of more of a person that keeps to myself, in the sense that I'm kind of like, I just want to, whatever's meant to be will be, I'll do my own thing, and whatever happens, happens.
So you never took a class or a weekend getaway on mediumship or psychic stuff?
Yes, there was actually one person that I started reading her books, was Doreen Virtue. Doreen Virtue was the angel person, and the only reason I got into her was because after my near-death experience. Yes, that was after my near-death experience. Because when I had my near-death experience, I witnessed Archangel Michael. Now, I never had any contact, like being an Irish Catholic, I always went to church, I went to my novenas, I did all the things like a good Irish Catholic girl would do. But I was never obsessed with angels. I never had, it's weird. When I look back now at pictures I drew as a child, I always drew pictures of angels. Never really realized that, which is weird. But I never had a thing where I was like, oh my God, I love angels, I collect angels, I'm into angels, anything like that. It was just a normal Catholic upbringing. Until I had my near-death experience. And then things started going weird after that. And it's like it opened up a whole new realm for me.
Can you explain? Can you kind of set that up?
Sure.
So, just step back quickly. So you grew up in an Irish Catholic family. You kind of knew things as a kid, but you never shared it. I think then you went to college maybe, and then you did some parlor tricks or did some stuff with friends. You said, hey, you're really good at this.
Yes.
And then it wasn't until you got in, was it a car accident that you really, and the light went on?
I actually, when I was in college, when I was a teenager, I taught myself tarot cards when I was 17, how to read. I was really good at it. I also did a lot of reading of other, I got some really old books on divination and things like that, and psychic books, and I was very interested in all of that stuff. And then, I would read some friends and everything would come true and they'd all be like, oh my God. It was just for fun. It was nothing serious. It was just, I would read me. Can you read me? And then I'd go working. Can you read me on your lunch break? Sure. I'd read people, but people were always astounded because everything I told them always happened. They would always be like, oh my God. And I would just be like, oh, okay. I didn't want anyone to get too carried away with it because I didn't want people to take it too seriously. But at the same time, it was happening.
Were you a medium at that point?
No, that was just psychic. I wasn't doing mediumship readings at that time, but I was. Yes, actually, I was. Actually, the first person that I actually started doing mediumship readings was my husband. I started to date him. And when I started to date him, his father had just passed 6 months before, well, not even 6 months before I met him. It's really weird because his father was the first person to really start, I don't want to say annoying me because that sounds terrible.
Boy, an in-law annoying you. Go figure.
But it's almost like he was kind of like really bringing it to the forefront because he really wanted to get messages across to my husband, my now husband. But at the time, my boyfriend, who I was scared to tell because I thought he would go running and screaming and run away forever. And it was funny because all of a sudden first of all, I dreamt of him and he welcomed me into the family, like after like the second date. And I was like, oh my God, I could see him. I could describe him clearly. And I'd never seen a photograph of him. And so that was very weird. And then he started giving me these really detailed messages. And I was like, so then I ignored them at first. And then he just kept at me. You've got to tell him this. You've got to tell him this. And I was like, oh my God, he's not going to leave me alone. So then finally, like, as my husband was walking me home one night, I said to him, I was like, I've got to tell you this. And I said, you're probably going to dump me at my front doorstep and run away and never come back. But I said, here goes. So your dad's been coming to me and telling me these things. So then I just threw it all out there and I said, here's the risk. I'm throwing it all out there. And he just stopped dead in his tracks and he's just like, his mouth hit the ground and he was just like, what? And the funny thing is, like, his poor dad died at like 53 years old, God rest him. And, he was very sick and he died of cancer. And he literally jokingly, his dad had a great sense of humor. And he jokingly said to his father, when you die, don't come back to me. I don't want you coming back as a ghost. I don't want you coming, don't scare me. So, of course, his father decided to come back to me, sent me along instead. And I think that was the joke, that his father sent me along to bring all the messages.
Do you think his father had any reason of you kind of connecting then? Or was he just kind of after you guys were dating, he showed up? Or do you think he maybe kind of helped bring your fate to his son?
I don't know, but it was kind of ironic and it was kind of funny at the same time because everything he told me to tell him was such detailed things that there's no way on earth anybody could have known what I knew. That's what blew my husband away. Like at the time, like he was like, there's no way. For example, there was one particular thing he told me. He said there's a clock that he had they had restored, him and my husband, when my husband was little. And it was this old-fashioned antique clock. And he said to me, tell him to go look for the clock that we restored together. He described the clock to me and he said the clock has been missing for a few years, but it's behind the wardrobe in the upstairs bedroom. It fell behind the wardrobe and he can find it there if he goes and look. So I told him about the clock. I described the clock and my husband was like, oh my God, he nearly died. He was like, that is the exact clock. And then we went back to his house the next day and my husband went into, he had this big old-fashioned house, like really an ancient house, which was haunted too, by the way.
Yeah.
We went there and he went upstairs and he said, I've got to go look. So I said, well, your father said, look behind this particular wardrobe in this particular room. He goes up, he comes downstairs and he goes, oh my God, he's got the clock in his hand. He goes, it was there. So that was like an exact, and it was just, so
was he scared
I was
of
like,
you after
okay.
That,
He was just, yeah, he was a little scared. And then he was kind of like, he was like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk. But, so that was kind of where it all started. And then I then started to believe in myself because I was like, this is crazy. I was like, this is real. Like, I'm actually really doing this. It gave me more faith in myself. And then that's when I started to believe that I actually had this gift, because I think before I wasn't really sure. So that's kind of where it all started.
Was that before your accident?
Yes. So we moved to America after we got married, and I was 23 when we moved to America. And yeah, I had my accident when we bought our house 2001. It was a freak accident. I was washing my dog, and we had just got a puppy, 7-month-old. We adopted him from a shelter, and he was 7 months old, and he was rambunctious. And I decided to entertain my nephew, who was over to visit from Ireland, and I had the leash wrapped around my wrist, and I was washing him with the hose out in the backyard, and I was using a glass pitcher to rinse him off, because I don't know why, it was stupid. And he pulled me. He decided he didn't want to be there, and I fell on the glass pitcher, and the glass went into my leg, and I severed a major artery in my leg, and the glass went right down to my bone, and I pulled it out, and I ended up basically dying in the ambulance. I mean, I had to get 8 blood transfusions. I ended up in ICU, intensive care. I had to have an 8-hour surgery to try, and I almost lost my leg. I destroyed my leg.
That's one of the most freakiest accidents I think I've heard.
Yeah, but what happened was, on the way to the ambulance, they almost lost me, but as I was bleeding out on the way to the hospital, all of a sudden, all the pain just disappeared, all the chaos. They were all like in the ambulance. They were trying to stop the bleeding and get me there as fast as they could, and they couldn't stop the bleeding. And all of a sudden, everything stopped. All the pain disappeared, and I started going to this, as people describe, this beautiful, aura, happy place. I can't even describe it. It's like what everyone says. You cannot describe how wonderful that is. I just felt so happy and peaceful, and everything was wonderful. Everything, just the sound went away, the noise went away, the pain went away. Everything was beautiful. And it was like this beautiful, I don't want to say a light, but it probably was a light. I can't remember. It was just beautiful and clear and gorgeous. And then all of a sudden, I was jolted back by the EMT slapping me and trying to bring me back and saying, come back, and telling the ambulance driver to put his foot in it, and it was all crazy after that. The next thing I remember was waking up in ICU after having a 9-hour surgery and coming out of surgery. And before I opened my eyes, I could hear somebody walking up and down on my right side. And this is what's the weirdest thing. I could hear somebody. Now, my eyes were still closed, and I could hear somebody walking up and down on my right side, slowly walking up and down and up and down. There was somebody there. All of a sudden, that person just walked up and down and stopped beside me, walked up and down and stopped, walked up and down and stopped. And I was like, it's Archangel Michael. Don't ask me how I knew it was Archangel Michael. I knew it was Archangel Michael. I could see him in my head. I could see him at the side of me, because I tried to open my eyes ever so slightly, and I could see him there. And then the next thing, this nurse comes running in, is like, she's awake, and all this chaos started up, and he was gone.
Did you know who Archangel Michael was from your religious background?
I did not know. Okay. Like I said, I had no particular affiliations. I didn't follow angels. I didn't look up Archangel. I never knew like anything in particular about him. Nothing. And it was so weird how like...
So you knew who he was, but never had any,
I knew it was Archangel.
Education or training about it before?
Nothing. And so after that happened, I forgot all about it. And I had I was months and months of recovery and physical therapy, try to walk again, the whole thing. And it was basically months and months later, weird things started happening. So I started like finding feathers around my house, seeing these random numbers. Now, it was the weirdest thing. I was like, I would look at things and these weird numbers would pop up. And then it was like all these crazy things. So I literally thought that something had happened. Now, because I had 8 blood transfusions, I'd been through so much. I was really traumatized. I thought that I was losing my mind. So I thought like, okay, all these weird synchronicities and coincidences and weird things started happening to me. And I thought, something is wrong with me. So I started telling my husband, I was like, I'm seeing all these weird things, these weird numbers. I keep seeing these numbers over and over again. And he's like, okay, you know?
I could just picture your husband when you say we have to talk. His face must go, oh my God.
He's like, oh God, is it my dad again? What has he got to say now? Yeah. But it was, I mean, I'm not kidding you, the weirdest things. And it bothered me so much that I actually in the beginning thought it was bad. I thought I had this really eerie feeling that something bad had happened to me. And then I started thinking, like, was it the blood transfusion? Is there something bad? You know what I mean? Like did something bad happen to me? Because I knew the near-death experience thing, but then I was afraid to delve into that. And then all of a sudden I was like, I got to start looking it up. So I got on the internet, I started looking up, why am I seeing these numbers? Why are these things happening to me? And all of a sudden it started coming up, angels, 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 angel signs, angels, connections, everything angels. And I was like, what? That was how I started to find out. And I was like, this is very weird. And that's when I started looking it up. And there was a certain number that kept coming up, and it was the number 6. And when I looked up the number 6, it was connected with Archangel Michael. That was weird. And there was just so many coincidences and synchronicities that I started reading about it. And I was like, okay, this is very unusual. And the more I looked into it, the more things. And then I started to accept it more and open myself up more to it. The more I opened myself up more to it, the more things started happening. And then it started to all just come in and flow in. And it was like whatever happened to me during that near-death experience had connected me to whatever that line was, had connected me to the angels in the angelic realm.
And what was the timeline for this?
It was months. It was a couple of years. It didn't happen overnight. It was a very slow process because it really took me time to kind of figure it all out. Doreen Virtue was somebody that had a lot of information on the angels at the time. And I read about her because she had written a book called Angel Numbers and Their Connections. Angel numbers, people see a lot of them, and I bet you have too. One of the numbers...
Yeah, I get 1111 a lot, actually.
Yes, that's one of the first ones that people see. And 1111 is just a number that people see. It's kind of like getting a little tap on the shoulder. Kind of, it's a little reminder, pay attention, to your surroundings, to everything. But the numbers go from 1111, then it starts, it's triple digit numbers, goes from 222, 333, 444, 555, all the way up to 000.
Don't say 666.
No, that one we delete. That one's missing. Don't even say it.
Sorry. Okay, I'm going to delete that out.
Edit that one out. So, yeah, we don't say that one. So all these numbers, and the higher you go, the more connected you are to the angelic realm. And it's actually, they all have different meanings, and you can Google them, you can look them up, and they all come to you at different times when you need support, when you need that, like, when you're going through hard times. There's so much more. And actually, I found out, like, when I finally found out the whole connection with Archangel Michael, that everything I was seeing was connected with Archangel Michael. That's when I opened myself up to Archangel Michael, and he connected with me with all the other stuff. It was crazy, like how, like I said, it was a slow process, because it's not something that, any of this stuff is not anything that you can rush. You cannot rush anything that's spiritual. You can't just, it's not like taking an exam, or it's not like going in and just reading a book or learning something. Anything that time you work with spirit or work with something that's spiritual, you need to take your time and allow it to happen at its own pace. You have to put it out there and open yourself up to it and allow it to happen at its own pace. And everything happens differently for every person.
When you had said you had a near-death experience, I almost assumed it was head trauma, because you hear about that a lot, where it's almost an inciting incident that wakes someone up because they've been ignoring the signs for so long. So I wonder if you said it's got to come to you, but sometimes the spirit or the angels have to play their hand and kind of put you in front of something to wake you up.
Well, it was a near-death experience. So I came close to death. I mean, the point is I almost crossed over. So I reached that point. I mean, any type of near-death experience is when you're almost, when you've almost left this world, and it puts you very, very on a very thin veil. There's a thin veil, you know what I mean? But you don't even have to have a near-death experience to experience different spiritual awakenings in your life. Your life can change at any time. And this is what I tell people all the time. And I see it more and more recently with my clients and with people, because there's so much negativity in the world right now. I mean, there is. But at the same time, I'm seeing more and more people who are becoming spiritually awakened, who are all of a sudden deciding to leave their big, huge corporate jobs, who are deciding to change their lives suddenly, and they want more spiritual satisfaction. They want more from their life. And it's good, because I think people are starting to realize they want more substance. What people don't realize is that we all have a lot of spirituality in us, and if we just open up, we're all intuitive. we can all change. I hate when people are like, I can't change my life. I'm just who I am and that's it. I'm never going to change. I don't believe that. I think people can change. I mean, yeah, okay, there's a lot of people that are just evil people in the world. But I do believe that there's good in people.
Yeah. Is that kind of Archangel Michael's message to you? I mean, if you're going to describe him, I had a couple questions about how would you describe him, what he's like to the, listeners, and how is he different? How is he different from other angels?
Oh my God, he's amazing. He's a warrior. Archangel Michael is somebody that if you want somebody that's going to be like a spiritual warrior for you, that's who you want is Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is this big, huge, powerful angel. He's like, if I could describe how he looks like, he will be like 6'5" and this big warrior that is like that, Thor type man that is just protecting. What he carries a sword and he carries a shield. The sword he uses to cut away any negativity in your life, negative, people, negative things in your life. That's what he uses the sword for. The shield he uses to protect you. So he will walk beside you, he will walk in front of you, and he will protect you in battle. Strength, courage, protection, that's what he does. He is strength, he gives you faith, he gives you courage, he gives you protection. That is your warrior. That is who Archangel Michael is. He is strength and courage. That is what his job is to provide strength and courage for you no matter, and help you through any battles that you have to face in life. And that's what I love so much about him, because he is the angel that brings you through any battle that you have to face in life. He is the head of all the archangels. Like, there's different angels that are assigned for different things in life. Like, for example, the other angel that I absolutely love is Archangel Raphael. He's the angel of health, meaning like mental health, physical health. Like, you send him to people who are ill. Like, he's the angel of police officers, firefighters, things like that. And a lot of people know him as that. I did not know he was that angel, but mainly I know him as the angel. Like I said, he's just amazing for strength and courage. If you need him for anything that you're going through in life, if you're fighting any kind of things, and everybody's fighting something in life that they need to get through, pain, sorrow, addiction, family issues, anything that they're going through in life, anything, he's the guy that you ask to be with you, and he's got this beautiful strength. His colors are the color purple. The other color he has is this lovely teal. So teal and purple are his main colors. All you have to do is ask him to help you. And that's the wonderful thing about the angels. You ask them to help you and they'll be right there by your side. And when you ask the angels to help you and say, you just get up in the morning and say, Archangel Michael, can you be by my side today and help me with this? I need help because I'm going to court, or I have an issue, or I have anything that you need help with, and they'll be right there for you. You just call on them. And people often ask me, well, how can they be everywhere at once? But they can, because that's how they work. They're there to assist and they're there to help. And they're amazing.
Now you mentioned Archangel Michael and Raphael. Were there other favorites that you had?
They're my two favorites. There are lots of other angels that are also out there too. Everybody is assigned a guardian angel at birth. So every single person, when you're born till the day you die, is assigned a guardian angel. So from the minute you're born or conceived you're born, you have a guardian angel. That is separate from the other angels.
Are they, I was going to say, they're not like of the stature of Raphael or Michael, right? They're like your uncle or something.
Well, I don't even know what they look like. Mine's probably wrecked because I think mine's probably like, oh my God, she's put me through so much.
Yeah, yours is retiring soon. Yeah.
But everyone and your guardian angel, your guardian angel takes care of you through your whole life, like I said, until the day that you cross over to the other side, and whether you're reborn again or whatever, you sign another one again, but your whole life, and they're there to protect you. They're always there, like as I say to people, to protect you. And then you have your spirit guides and your ancestors that protect you. Your spirit guides are your loved ones who are crossed over. Like your mom is probably your spirit guide. Because when your loved ones cross over, their job is to now protect you and watch out for you and protect you. I mean, I'm sure you've heard many times, like people have car accidents and are things where they're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have survived this. Like, how did I make it out of this car wreck? I should not have survived this. That's either your angel that protected you or it's your spirit guide. It's either a loved one that's crossed over. And I get that a lot of readings where I'll get like, that was your grandmother, like where a grandmother will come, through in a reading and say, you remember that car accident? I was there. And that's why you survived that accident.
When I did the documentary, I went to haunted places like Lizzie Borden with a shaman. I went to S.K. Pierce. I went to Salem with a magic parlor where there's supposed to be an Ouija board possessed by 7 demons. And it was cleared, but I drove it around in my car in the trunk because my ex-wife wouldn't let me bring it in the house. And so I had and at that point I started hearing all these EVPs would come to me. Really weird.
Yeah.
And I had another crazy experience too. And so it was, where am I going with this? Sorry. So it's that. So, here it is. So what I do is I start my day around that time. I decide to start every day. And I say, with gratitude, I express gratitude. And I said, I thank the Lord my God, Jesus Christ my Savior, God and angels, guardian spirits in the universe for all the love and protections that you give me, right? So I say that every day. And is that something like that people should say every day?
Yes, everybody should be. Yes, I think everybody, like, it doesn't matter what religion you are or what, it doesn't matter. But yes, I think everybody should be grateful and thankful. And it is important.
And then I ask for stuff.
Yeah.
After I say that.
By the way, can you do this for me? Yes, I say don't be afraid to ask. And also don't be afraid to ask your loved ones. Talk to your loved ones. Ask your guardian angels. Ask your angels for help. It's okay to do that. But also be thankful. Don't forget to thank them also. Thank you for doing this for me. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for being there for me. It's a balance of everything out there. And also we have to be practical too. Like you said, when you're getting involved in anything like paranormal or anything like that, protect yourself, like sage, use things like that too, all those kind of things we need to use too. I'm a faithful person and I know people are like, oh yeah, you do paranormal stuff and all that, but yes.
Yeah, that's a question I had. That's a good segue because I was going to ask, how did, he's an angel, so you think it would probably solidify your beliefs, because I talk to different people and they're like, well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I get that a lot when I talk to people in the field.
Oh, of course,
right?
Yeah.
But how did your experiences affect your, you grew up in your belief? Did it strengthen it? Did it divert it to a different direction? Or how did you net out?
I think it strengthened it, to be honest, because I think it made my faith stronger in the sense that I've always had a very strong faith, always. I do know that the church doesn't approve of what I do. I've come to terms with that. I've had to deal with that actually, personally. But I'm okay with that now because I believe that what I'm doing is a good thing. I do whatever I can to help people. I believe that I was given this gift by God, and I believe I was given this gift for a reason. I didn't ask for it. I didn't go looking for it. It just happened. And I do my best to connect people. And when I do connect people, I feel so good about it. And it brings a lot of closure and peace to people. So that brings me a lot of happiness and peace. I think it's a good thing.
Well, that seems like a great place to stop on a high note. Thanks again to Colleen Costello, the Celtic Medium. You can find her on Facebook. Just search for the Celtic Medium. Next time, we're actually going to get dark. We're going to find out more about her process. And then we're going to talk about the one time she was literally chased off a ship, the USS Salem. So please do follow up on our next episode with Colleen called When Ghosts Attack.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared.
Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit afraidofnothingpodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's afraidofnothingpodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.